man, those politics, that the pressure to produce on whatever their priority is palpable, no matter where you are. It absolutely impacts missions.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff. So I was just very, very cautious.
Well, you were saying that before you got to Afghanistan and this guy became a source, you hadn't been involved in the Osama Bin Laden investigation. But had you... I mean, he was the ghost for almost especially almost a decade there, longer than that technically, but at least since 9/11, almost a decade. And it's like the most wanted man in the world. Had you studied up on him? Or,
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, remember, I got my master's in counterterrorism.
Right. So, but you did a lot of focus on him specifically and his whole history and everything.
Yeah. In fact, when I was, how old was I? 18 or 19? I sailed around the world on a small cruise ship called Semester at Sea when I was in college.
Yeah.
It's called the Semester of Sex.
Yes.
It was awesome.
I wasn't going to say
Not for me. I didn't have sex.
Yeah. Okay.
I just thought about it. But yeah, so going on that even, one of our stops was Kenya. And right before that is when the embassies in Kenya and Tanzania were bombed.
Yes.
And I don't remember this at all, but my friend reminded me. So I was I was always fascinated by terrorism and why. Why are people doing this? And when September 11th happened, my friend Susie, she lives in New York, Susie either emailed me or texted me or something, and she said, you were right. And I was like, what was I right about? And she said, Osama Bin Laden. When we were in Kenya, because we went and we saw the embassy, it was all blown, like the stuff, like paid your respects, we saw it. She goes, you told me all about Osama Bin Laden, and you told me they were going to hit us in the home. Like you told me. And I was like, oh shit, I did?
You said that in like 98, 99.
Oh, wow, I'm good. I mean, I didn't say they were going to fly a plane in the World Trade Center, but I was telling her that, if anyone could do it, they would attack here in the U.S. And she was like, you were totally right. And for me, like, because I didn't remember it, it was validating. It was like, okay, I am good at this. It just kind of egged me on to keep doing it.
Yeah. I mean, the whole history, he's one of like 57 kids or something.
Yeah.
And Mohammed bin Laden, his father, fascinating, a lot of money, but fascinating guy espionage-wise.
Right.
Like, I don't know that he was like a full-blown spy or something, but he was an asset for probably a lot of different places.
Mm-hmm.
He
had good access.
Yeah.
He had a lot of good access.
Oh, my God. It's just very strange where Osama came from and then obviously the Mujahideen in the 80s shaped
Big
him.
influence, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. But like the family he came from, you wouldn't expect that.
No.
Because he had access to a lot of wealth.
And you would think you'd grow up wanting for nothing.
Yeah. What
would his grievances be?
Yeah.
It's like a American rich kid. Like, what's wrong with you? You have everything you want.
Yeah.
I
mean, you look at it's interesting. You were telling your friends in 98, 99 about this guy and what he was going to do. When you look at the history of it, and as the people who were there discuss it, they're always talking about how it took a while for the Clinton administration to get it, but then they got it, right? Like they when those bombings were happening, they're like, oh, okay, all right,
real.
This guy's a problem.
Yeah.
And then you have a whole new administration come in, and they're like, what's this?
But that happens every 4 years for everything. Like, pick a topic. Russia, Ukraine, China. Like, it's the same cycle. And I see the intelligence community feels it, You're supposed to be impartial, and you are. But, man, those politics, the pressure to produce on whatever their priority is palpable, no matter where you are. It absolutely impacts missions.
The other side of it, though, not that I like politicians, because I don't at all, but, it's two to tango in this kind of relationship, and this gets talked about a lot. I'd love your thoughts on this. You have the politicians who are there to get elected. Well, let's separate them in two categories for a second. You have the House of Representatives and the Senates who, they don't have any fucking term limits, so they can be like 90 with their teeth falling out and still be there. But they still have to at least do things on the basis of trying to get elected on some upcoming Tuesday in November, which causes problems. Then in the executive branch, where the intelligence community has daily direct back and forth, this is where decisions are being made. Every 4 years, or at the very least every 8 years, an entire new administration comes in, entire new ideas, whatever. And there's the old thought that the espionage community is the most powerful tool there is because they have dirt on everyone. And the guy who comes in there, the new president, the people who go and give him the first PDB, yeah.
Yep.
They were there before he got there. They're going to be there after he leaves.
Right.
So the question is, like, who really does run the country? And I just look at it as like a psychological experiment of like, well, what do you expect? These people got to exist, and they know they're going to exist after this guy's there. So that's just
But they've got to play the game.
yeah, they play the game, but like they have their hands on all the triggers.
Yeah.
The president doesn't have anything without the intelligence from those people. So effectively, if they don't like a guy, or in the future, if there's a woman in there, if they don't like her, don't like him, you know, they can be like, oh, well, we're not going to tell them about this thing. We're going to steer clear of that.
I'm sure stuff gets communicated different ways or different channels. Yeah. But I think anybody who's doing that job, they're mission oriented too, and they want to do the right thing. But it's funny, like you talk about like the PDB, when each president comes in, they have to adjust how they brief it. One president wants only visuals. One president wants metrics. One president wants paragraph summaries. One president doesn't want anything. He just wants you to tell me what's important. So you're adjusting how you write these up and how you present it, depending on that personality.
Yeah. It's a hard job.
It's a hard job. I wouldn't want it.
For sure.
No way.
But do you remember where you were exactly well, I think you said it actually, when you found out about the Osama thing, you were watching the news?
I was half naked, getting dressed, watching CNN, and half crying, half cheering.
It's got to be a pretty good feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
I kind of wonder today if the reaction to that, like we had, would be the same. It was a very uniting moment when that happened. People were in America. That was a special night.
It was. September 11th in general, too. Like, I can't think, I mean, maybe world wars, but when else has the U.S. been so united, right?
Agreed.
But it's sad that it takes travesty and horrible loss of life in any capacity for the country to get together and be one. United we stand, right?
Yeah. I say this all the time, and I hate it, but like you have the terrorist attacks like September 11th and Pearl Harbor, which, you know, are horrible. But like outside of the war of 1812, this country's never been invaded, and it really fucking shows.
Right.
Because the problems that we spend so much time fighting about, when you look at the patterns of our society, those bullshit problems, whatever they may be in a given era, happen the most when we are the farthest away from tragedy or like major in-your-face war.
Yeah.
And it's so sad to me that it takes something like that. Like, you turn on the news, the shit we're fighting over, if, God forbid, if something happened to that skyline tomorrow, gone.
Yeah.
No,
I agree.
It's gone.
I agree. Yeah. It was really hard coming home from a deployment. You've seen a lot. Maybe you've had near-death experiences. I've had a few. You've done things that you know saved lives. And then you come home and like, I would come home and you're walking around and you see people like chit-chatting at Starbucks and like girls like, oh my God, you know, like I would get mad that these people did not know what others were doing for their country and for them to be able to go sit at Starbucks and gossip.
Yep.
You know, it was a very hard adjustment each time. And it never got easier. I'd come home, you know, fourth one, I'm like, all right, I'm going to be fine, you know, and it wouldn't. It would just still hit you. You know, and then when we withdrew from Afghanistan, like all of that stuff, like you get these reminders.
Yes. Because you know what you know. You can't change that.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
Yeah.
And sadly, that's just a human psychological thing as old as time.
Yeah.
When what you don't see, not even blaming people, it's just how it is.
Yeah, they're ignorant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I see it in other situations that aren't warfare, but it's other problems around the world. I have friends like my friend Paul Rosalie in the Amazon. Finally now, like, he's blowing up online and is like a celebrity. But for the first 17 years, he'd be screaming at people with videos of everything burning, saying, here's what's happening.
It's real.
Here's what we got to do to stop it. And people are like, oh, that's so terrible. Anyway, I'll take a medium and he'll take a large. You know?
Right. It's because it doesn't affect them. It doesn't impact them immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. But when you said you met with the guy and he was like, oh, we got him.
Yeah. I felt like such an asshole. I'm like, yes, you did.
Thank you for that. But like, you were using him as a source, I would imagine, for other things too, right?
Yeah.
So he still had a lot of
Yes.
use after that.
Yeah.
Is that someone that, I mean, you're not involved anymore, allegedly, but is that someone that you think probably is still a source today?
I doubt it, honestly. Just knowing what I know about him and his location, and I don't know that he would have the access anymore that they needed. Or if he's still alive, honestly.
Oh, you don't even know that?
No.
So you don't have any contact?
I have no contact. Okay. That's a hard thing, too. I don't know if anyone's ever talked about that, but like sometimes you get close to these people, and it's not like you're falling in love with their sources, right? But you respect people, and after spending time with their family and their kids and hanging out, like you care about them and their well-being, right? That's your job to make sure that they're safe. And then when you leave, you shut off contact. You cannot contact them again.
Always?
Not always. It's gone. It's gone. So when ISIS came in, for example, I had a source who was recruited. I spent a lot of time with him and his family. And when ISIS came in, he was absolutely, without a doubt, he was killed. I have zero question, just based on what he did for a living, where he went, like, and knowing his wife and his 2 boys, like, it's still, like, if I think about it, I'll probably tear up. Like, I still feel guilty and I still feel bad. But I know that he made a big difference.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.